Welcome friends, today I want to talk about this. So there's a few things that I want to cover today about buttermilk. I want to talk about what it isn't, what it is, and then we're going to talk about substitutions and why certain substitutions work better than others. First of all, I'm talking about buttermilk as it's sold in 99% of all cases in North America. And I realize that outside of North America, this isn't sold. So in Europe or Asia, I see people coming to our website, our channel on YouTube, and other websites, other channels on YouTube, magazines, any recipe that is created in North America. Since probably World War II, when they ask for buttermilk, they're asking for this. And there's confusion about what this is. Even within North America, there's confusion about what this is. In North America, buttermilk is a fermented product. It has nothing to do with the production of butter. It isn't milk that is going to be turned into butter. It isn't the liquid that's left over from making butter. It isn't butter mixed into milk. It has nothing to do with butter other than it's a dairy product. There's confusion in the marketplace because some marketing genius, when this was invented in 1920, decided to call it buttermilk. And it really took hold after World War II. So, what it is, this is generally skim milk between 1 and 2% milk fat that is fermented. Lactobacillus cultures are added to it. It's allowed to ferment, and that fermentation gives it that tangy, acidic taste, and lots of layered flavors within that. And it also makes it feel thicker because the lactobacillus has changed the structure of the milk and coagulated it a little bit, curdled it a little bit, clabbered it, some people would say, to make it thicker. So if you pour this in, it is thicker than regular 1% milk. And if you actually smell it, you're going to smell some similarities with other fermented or cultured products in your dairy case, like yogurt or sour cream. A lot of similarities between those products, which brings us to how do you do a substitution? So for substitutions, you've got a few options. If you live in Europe and you can't buy what North Americans refer to as buttermilk, the most obvious choice is any cultured milk product that is drinkable, that's on your shelf. And the first choice would be kefir. I have to admit, in all of the buttermilk recipes on our website, and I'll link to it here, anywhere that I use buttermilk, I most of the time actually use kefir when we make it at home. Kefir is really what buttermilk should be. It has much better flavor, and it's unpasteurized. So this is pasteurized before it's shipped to the grocery stores. And in that pasteurization process, you lose a little something. Kefir has a better flavor. So if you're making any buttermilk recipe from North America and you live in Europe, get kefir or any local fermented milk beverage. And if you live in India, I would use lassi. Lassi works fine. It's perfect as a substitute for buttermilk. Now, if you can't get kefir, you can't get lassi, you can't get doog. I'm pretty sure I'm not saying that right, but I'll write it on the screen. That again is a fermented milk drink. I would use that. The next viable option is, of course, either using sour cream or yogurt mixed with milk. So if you need 1 cup of buttermilk, I would take 3/4 of a cup of regular milk, either 2% or 3%, and then mix a 1/4 cup of sour cream or a 1/4 cup of yogurt. Of course, plain yogurt. You don't want flavored yogurt or yogurt with sugar in it. Mix those together, and that will give you everything that buttermilk gives you. And we do a waffle recipe, I'll link to it above, where in fact I took a regular buttermilk recipe, and instead of using buttermilk, I've actually made it to use either yogurt or sour cream mixed with milk, and the flavor is incredible. Which brings us to the last substitute, the substitute of last resort, which is the one that gets touted in every baking blog and every recipe book on the internet, which is to mix 2 tablespoons of vinegar or lemon juice into some milk and stir it, and then you wait for it to coagulate, to thicken up, and then miraculously everybody tells you you've made buttermilk. You've made acidulated milk. What you've sort of replicated is the acid structure that's in buttermilk. They're just wrong. They're completely wrong. That is not what the recipe writer wanted you to do. And so the end result is when you put that into your recipe, the acid will activate the baking soda and you'll get a rise. But what you won't get are any of the flavors or the tenderizing aspect that you would normally get from buttermilk that you'll get from all of these other substitutes. So as a substitute of last resort, sure, milk and vinegar, but I would choose all of these before that one. Did I clear that up? Did I get a little ranty? So to summarize, North American recipes that call for buttermilk are calling for a fermented milk product, normally fermented with lactobacillus bacteria. It's 1% milk fat, and you can substitute kefir, lassi, doog, or milk mixed with sour cream or milk mixed with yogurt.